back to Fake Deep Thinking. Just a group of friends sitting down talking about the world. Today we have with us John, Doc,
Yo,
and myself, Eugene. I hope
and
that's
that computer.
Yeah, I hope that's not picked up in the audio.
And the computer.
And the computer. All right. So today we're going to start off with something a little controversial. And we're going to talk about...
Is it, though?
We'll find out. Let's open it up. So, British influencer, quote, "I'm finally Korean, had 18 surgeries to look like a BTS singer." So let's read
behind the scenes.
So let's read.
What does BTS stand for?
That's a good question. What does BTS stand for? I think it's a Korean pop band, but I'm not sure specifically what BTS stands for.
You didn't even have to type it.
Oh, it said?
As soon as you typed in BTS, the whole thing popped up in the search bar. Just type in BTS and watch what magic happens. Jesus Christ.
British. No, where?
No, go back. From scratch. When you typed in BTS, I saw the whole definition. It's a Korean pop, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I guess I'm just tripping. Good thing we're recording the fucking screen, are we?
No, we're not recording the
Damn,
screen, no.
boom.
Just us.
The Wikipedia popped up.
Yeah,
there it goes. Bang Tan Boys. That sounds really good.
Oh, so it's a specific band.
Bang Tan Boys.
They like the Bang Tan Boys?
I don't know what that means.
Oh, I thought he said Bang 10 Boys. And I was like, what?
No, not 10, just one tan one.
Okay. This guy. All right, let me read a couple of these articles. Let's get into this. We're already getting some debauchery. A British influencer elected to undergo surgery after surgery after surgery after surgery so they could look like BTS singer Park Jimin, if I'm saying that right, Jimin, and says they no longer feel trapped and identifies as Korean.
Excellent.
Lots to unpack here, but Oli London, who identifies as non-binary, said Monday they've been trapped in the wrong body for 8 years. What about the other few years? Like, you just suddenly feel like you've been trapped. I'm sorry. Let me finish. I'm sorry. But can now be myself because I'm finally Korean.
Yes, you are.
And then we got some pictures of his Instagram. So here we go. Boom. 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 London's changed. London's not the name anymore. Here we go. Boom. London's changed their name to Jimin and says some of the 18 surgeries include extensive work on their eyes and brow lift. They even spoke in Korean in parts of the video and added, "I know it's a little confusing. Nobody has ever come out as Jimin or Korean, but this is something you guys know. I've really struggled with identity issues with who I am." Jimin, the wannabe, not the singer, said Korean is their culture, their home country, and now they're happy to look Korean after at least $150,000 worth of surgeries over 8 years. The racial transition, as Jimin puts it, is drawing lots of criticism, to which they say, quote, "Being transsexual is the same as being transracial because you are born in the wrong body." No word yet on how Jimin, the BTS frontman, feels all about this. I would love to know what...
go, Jimin. The fake one, not the real one.
How do y'all feel about this?
I support it fully.
I mean, logically, it makes sense. If you can be transgender, you can be transracial, no?
100%.
I mean, the obvious thing is to say, like, it's messed up, but there's a deep part of me that wants to just use it as fuel to the flame.
100%. That's what I'm doing.
To be like, yeah, why not?
That's what you asked for.
Yeah, this is where we're going. This is where it's getting. Like,
but let me tell you something. Let me tell you where the line is drawn at.
There's no line. What do you mean?
Oh, there's a line.
Okay, where's the line?
When a white person tells me he identifies as black.
Okay. Okay.
But what about after the 20?
There already has.
Rachel Dozell?
Okay, I don't know who Rachel Dozell. Let me look that up.
The lady who pretended to be black and worked for the NAACP, but ended up being
I don't know. This lady?
I think it's really bizarre, though. Like, there's a clear nationality. Like, you need a passport. Do they have a Korean passport?
In fact, he can participate for Korea in the Korean Olympics.
So if he moves to Korea and gains citizenship,
he doesn't have to do that.
Establish?
He doesn't have to do that. Because according to transgender rules,
you just have to identify.
You just have to identify.
And because he identifies as Korean, he is now, my home country is Korea.
Boom.
My native
he
tongue
can
is
just
Korean.
walk in.
Boom.
That's how it works.
I now took the proper measures to be Korean. I am officially Korean.
That's where he was born.
Was he born in Korea though?
No.
Like outside of this?
No, he was not.
So
British. Yep.
They got laws, man. They're probably just gonna look at him and be like, "Are you serious?" Like,
are you stupid?
The other thing that's weird is like something I've observed between watching like certain genders interact with the trans of that gender is that sometimes it feels like a caricature of what they think that gender is.
That's exactly what
And
it
it-
is.
And
Yeah,
it's difficult. It's difficult to like comprehend and like, well, not really, because you just kind of feel it in the moment. Like, there's some people where I'm just like, yeah, that person's probably a dude, and then there's other times where I'm just like, I feel like you're imitating
Stereotyping?
me, like in like you're playing a role, but I can tell it's fake, or it's not natural.
You want to know what it is?
And
Doc?
so I wonder though if when this person hangs around with other Koreans, if they feel the exact same thing, where they're just like you're almost like, you're charactering our Korean culture without actually having deep roots into it. And I don't know this person's background, but
What's
I
the
just kind
term
of wonder
they
what their
use?
experience would be.
Cultural appropriation?
Yeah.
Is that
but,
what it is?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is, to be honest with you. But the real thing is friends and people don't normally ask each other to describe each other. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't go to, hey, Gene, can you describe me? What makes
Okay.
me me?
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
That's weird.
then it's weird, right? But when you're doing surgery, now you're answering the question, what do you think defines a Korean? And so anything short of purist Korean or being Korean is an insult. No, there's no way anybody else can take it. It's
Well,
an insult.
Besides the fact, it's not that I would argue it's not that he wants to be Korean. He wants to be the actual Jimin singer. I feel like he has some
No,
weird.
he says he
wants-
he
yeah, he
does,
did
but
say
he
that,
identifies
but then
as
he
Korean.
specifies his Korean identity as Jimin, the singer. It's almost like identity
his-
theft, kind of.
Yeah, he's using the name, but that's who he wanted to model his face after. It's like a girl getting a Kardashian surgery.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I would still associate the same thing. But
Exactly. But his end goal was to be Korean. You know what I'm saying? He just picked a Korean. You know what I'm saying?
that he idolized
exactly,
or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you're doing all of this. You're basically, when I look at him, I'm like, this is what defines a Korean person to him. Now I
having
just have
the
to watch
eyes.
him.
Because apparently most of the surgery went to the eyes.
Hmm. Is that what you believe defines a Korean?
Or the eyes.
If he identified as a Korean internally, why did he need to show it externally? Couldn't he just embrace the culture and be a Korean?
Because it wasn't
it
the
wouldn't have
external
mattered his
culture that was
color.
accepting him. He needed everyone else to accept him because I would argue because he needed other people to accept him as his identity he identified as, he never fully accepted himself, if that made sense.
So I would ask him, is a black guy born in Korea Korean?
Or is he black?
Or is he black?
Can
Does he not belong to a country then? Because black is a skin tone. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
I mean,
So-
if he's born there and
'cause
he's
he could
born
still
to the
be-
parents, then probably. But
Then
like,
he's Korean, correct? Because Korean is a nationality.
yeah,
It's not a race.
I think it's both.
It's both?
that's where, man. Honestly, that's where the line.
That was a
blurs for
question. I'm not trying to
me.
make it.
Me-
That was a
me
question,
neither,
not a
me
statement.
neither,
That was
me
a question, not a
neither.
statement.
Because
'Cause
we define it as Asian, island, Pacific, and all
Yeah.
that extra shit.
Go on, Doc.
Well, to me, the line blurs there because it's like you can live in the United States, be American, and identify as Korean, and it's just like, I mean, people do it all the time. People say, "Oh, I'm Mexican," but they're Americans. They were born here. They're like second generation Americans, but they use that nationality as a race to identify themselves, to separate themselves from groups in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why when you're like, "Oh, are they Korean?" To me, it kind of it blurs a lot. Where it's just like, I don't understand how other people in other countries
Answer that question.
identify themselves with their nationality.
Boom. No, you're absolutely right, because when we're talking amongst each other here, it's the American part is assumed. We don't have to speak on it almost.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So it's just understood. So it's just like, oh yeah, what are you? Mexican American, but the American part is just, you know what I'm saying? I assume so. But that's why I literally asked the question. If I'm black and I'm born there, what does Korea define me as?
African Korean or whatever.
Yeah, but I would still be Korean. Okay, then. So if he was born here, why would he need to physically change? Okay, so this is where I'll actually be technical. When you're being transgendered or whatever, you're changing your sex or dressing like whatever, and you're participating in the activities of whatever sex you believe would go on, right?
Yep.
So if you're transracial, there's no actual inhibitor to stop you from participating in the things that would make you Korean.
It's technically by
'Cause
location.
It would be by location or culture.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yep. I'm
But
there.
none of those things can stop you. Your look can't stop you from participating. Maybe it may stop you as far as immersion. Like, for example, if I was a white guy kicking it with black people and I identified as black, I may not be able to say the N-word. But if I had surgery and made my skin black, I may get it. If they didn't know I was, you get what I'm saying? I may get away with the N-word. So I guess you could, that would be the only argument.
Yeah, okay, I hear you.
That's the only argument you can make
yeah.
as far as immersion. But there's nothing stopping this human being from being Korean in everything else. Culture, fully immerse yourself in it. Move to Korea. Like, South Korea is open. You can go there. So why do all of this? The surgery part. What about the look? What is it about the look that you feel like you're not happy that you don't look Asian?
Yeah, I think it's an identity crisis.
Could you also argue it's kind of like a fetishization?
That's what I'm going at.
I think I'm saying the word wrong.
I wouldn't even say
fetishizing.
fetish.
Yeah.
I would actually go further to say it's an obsession.
Correct.
You made it through
Same
17
thing,
surgeries.
though, but one's sexual.
Yeah.
And I would definitely still say it's sexual because he's depending if I don't care what his sexual orientation is, but by changing the way he looks, he's trying to either way he's trying to appeal to us. I'm not even going to explain.
You're right.
It makes sense.
You're
Go on,
right.
Doc. I'm sorry.
Well, the other thing that's kind of weird to me is that, like, something I was thinking about today is that the ego changes, like, as you grow older. Your personality, what you identify as your identity, is going to grow, is going to change. And this person locked themselves in as Korean. Like, you know what I mean? So what's going to happen in 20 years? And you're just like, oh, I'm actually Russian. Or, like, I think they have an issue where they want somebody to see their self-identification so badly that they're willing to push it to the masses. And they ignore, like, what the reality is of the situation. And it's conflicting because at the same time, like, they're also crossing a lot of boundaries, but I don't think some of those boundaries should be crossed.
Dude, we are literally coddling mental illness instead of dealing with it. And I'm not trying to be that guy that says, I'm not talking about trans people or anything like that.
I agree with you completely. I'll be right there with you. I'm on this shit with you.
This person, instead of actually dealing with who they are, and
they're running away from it.
They're running away from it.
Or hiding it, masking it.
Because this literally is the best example I've ever had. Because this person transgender people can say, I don't feel like a woman because I have a dick and I need to get it removed. Or vice versa. This person did not need the physical attributes. That means this person defines that whole culture as the physical attributes. Or at least a major portion of it. Because there are different ethnicities in all Asian countries who live their life every day, and they're well immersed. They get along. There's no real difference. They live their life. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But he did not choose that. He chose to physically change himself to what he physically thinks a Korean would look like.
I would assume that's insulting.
That's my point. Now you're letting me know what you think all Korean like. Now you just picked one of the most famous singers. Let me just be that
recognizable,
Korean.
Yeah.
Let me just be that Korean. So what, you want to come over here and be a star, a pop star? So what's your real identity crisis? Is it that you want fame? That you identify as you want to be that person in that group? Recognizable, da-da-da-da? Or is it that you really want to be Korean? What was it about the Korean culture that 8 years ago? Because remember, this thing isn't a lifelong thing.
Like, what is Korean culture to you?
To you,
like,
that's what I'm saying.
Do you even know what that is? Because were you raised Korean?
Boom.
Probably not. So what is to you Korean culture? Do you eat
I would
the
even
food?
say that
Can
there's
you make the food?
There's a possibility that it's not so much that they want to be something else. It's just that they don't want to be themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm there with you. I agree with that.
I'll go on a limb here, but isn't that a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the thing is, problems aren't as, and I'm not trying to go off topic here, but they're as big as you make them and as big as you don't. He could have, having an identity crisis is okay as long as you identify you're having an identity crisis. You get what I'm saying?
You're aware of it.
And you're aware of it and go about dealing with it in a natural way. When you run and instead of dealing with it, you coddle it, then you're still leaving yourself vulnerable. Because then what if you stop looking Korean?
I don't look Korean enough. I got to get another surgery.
Boom.
Or I'm aging. And because I'm aging now, my eyes aren't slanted to the proper degree. I got to go get an updated surgery. You're chasing it forever.
And it's just my problem with it isn't that it's not honest or whatever it is. In my opinion, it's not. But
I was about to say,
it's not a permanent solution.
Yeah, they're going to end up being like the people that are outrunning the aging process. The people that are constantly getting work done so they can stay younger.
Yeah, like even look at his skin, it looks like plastic.
Yep. Look like a doll.
And he doesn't look Asian. He just looks like he's had Botox and he's doing Asian and slanted eyes.
Yep.
Like, and then what Asian has big lips like that? Is that a common feature like that?
So, quick question, still on topic. Do we blame the surgeon at all?
The surgeon was freestyling, first off, because there's no way
that's
this
what
is
I'm saying. Because there's
that,
no way there's a surgery where you go in and be like, do you specialize in transracial surgery? Can you modify me? Like, so at what point do we blame the surgeon? Like, he could have said no, but obviously, like, how much did he pay? $150,000. Clearly, he was like, the money's worth it. Like, screw it. Like, he doesn't know.
It depends. I mean, you have to know the surgeon's personality at that point. Like, do they want money? Because then, they chase the money. Do they want the glory of this being like the first surgery that they've ever done to do this?
This is my biased opinion. Plastic surgeons are plastic surgeons because of the money.
Oh, purely.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I mean, that's a big indicator. So yeah, maybe that's what they wanted.
So to me, that already speaks on a little bit of their character. That probably sounds bad, but I mean, like,
that reminds me of that show Nip Tuck. They're basically just like dudes that are just sleeping around with women in, I think, Miami, and they're just doing plastic surgery on everybody.
Yep. I think this person, it'd be probably hard to get them to answer a question directly. I'll leave it at that.
Dip, duck, dodge.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on from this because I don't want to get to a point where we bash this person because I don't want to bash the person.
That's why I'm not doing it. That's why
It's just the snake is officially digesting itself.
Mm-hmm.
So, to stay on kind of topic to this whole trans thing, we have the Way Spa incident, if I'm saying that right. The We Spa. So, We Spa Los Angeles transgender rant caught on video.
Hold on.
Let's read this.
First and
couple
foremost,
paragraphs of this, and then we'll
pay
watch the video.
attention to how
they try to defend it.
The title.
Okay. What? Way Spa Los Angeles transgender rant caught on the video because they call it a rant and not a complaint. Because it's a genuine complaint.
They're talking about the transgender person. This is coming from the transgender person's point of view. You can already tell from the article that it's gonna be more lenient towards.
So, let's just get into it. A We Spa Los Angeles transgender rant by a female customer was caught on video and has gone viral after it was posted to Reddit. The video... Do what?
Korea going through it, boy.
The video was first posted to Reddit's R actual public freakout page on June 28th of 2021. Quote, woman is upset over a transgender woman being allowed in the woman's bathroom at a spa, quote, end quote. The video was headlined on the social platform. The video captures an extended rant by a woman who was upset by a transgender person being in what she describes as a woman's area. You can watch the video below, but be aware that some of people might find it disturbing to listen to. Okay. What is We Spa? Come for a soak, ancient Korean style. All right, let's just watch the video.
Poor Korea.
Yeah, I can just that first paragraph. You can already tell they have a very clear bias.
You know what I'm
very
saying?
clear bias.
I was seeing the title. I said, okay.
Okay, so here comes the first video. It's about 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
We spa, so you don't. So it's okay. I just want to be clear with you. It's okay. It's okay for a man to go into the women's section, show his penis around.
You don't have to guess the girl's ethnicity.
Underage. Your spa, we spa, condone that. Is that what you're saying? Like I asked. It's so he can stay there. He could stay there. What sexual orientation? I see a dick. It lets me know he's a man. He's a man. He is a man. He is not no female. He is not a female. sweetie. Okay, girls down there, other women who are highly offended for what they just saw. And you did nothing. Absolutely nothing. In fact, you sided with him. So We Spa is an agreement with men that just say they are a woman and they can go down there with their penis and get into the women's section. Is that what you're saying? What really? What law? So women can go into the men's with their breasts. Okay.
Please.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I wouldn't come back either. Yeah, get your money back. You got a man with his penis talking about he's a woman. He ain't no woman. Yeah, give her money back. Are you talking about a transgender person? There's no such thing as transgender. He has a dick. Okay? He has a penis. His penis is hanging out. Okay, no, I'm not one. Actually, I'm a woman who knows how to stand up and speak up for my rights. As a woman, I have a right to
I love the dudes in the back.
Woman.
They cracked me up.
exposing himself. Okay? No, you go somewhere else.
This guy looks sweaty and dirty.
That's right. No, he's not a transgender. He has a penis, just like you do. Are you? So I understand. No, yeah. Okay, it's not okay. It's not okay. Okay, that's traumatizing to see that. I'm a woman.
How this man's trying to tell them how to feel.
I'm told only for women. So how dare you sit up here and tell me I don't have a right as a woman to defend? I'm telling you, he has a penis, a full and testicles. Okay, and I don't care what it's a man. You got one? You're a man. Okay.
And if we went into the men's section with our anatomy, that would be...
Well, it would probably, but you might not like women, so it might not, okay? And we don't know, but for me and for a lot of other women, they do not feel comfortable, and it's not okay. Okay? So...
I'm sorry you saw a penis. This motherfucker.
Sweetie, and you're out of alignment, and this is not right. I can tell you that much. All right?
Dude in the back.
Yeah, it must be hard. It must be hard not being a real man, huh? Try it. So, like I said,
Get it.
I want every woman
Next.
all their information on
Security. What's popping?
What is security guard? He's just security.
Let's go.
Okay, well, no, he's sitting in there. Okay, well, security. No.
Security.
Oh, okay.
He should have not been allowed to.
Yeah, exactly.
Rewind it. 2 seconds.
Exactly.
Look at this lady with her hand in front of her face. Run it back.
Exactly. Oh, okay.
He should have not been
Oh, okay. All right. So, my first question is I want to address the white man trying to interject himself in the issue by asking, is it a transgender person? And then her saying, no, he has a penis. So, what is, because I'm going to plead ignorance here. So what defines a transgender person? I would assume a transgender person, is it specifically I just have to identify as the opposite gender and I am officially transgender? Or do I have to get a surgery to be considered transgender?
No, you just have to identify.
So isn't that where the issue lies then? Because that's obviously a problem, because this man who has the male anatomy just identifies period as a woman, but clearly not a woman, goes into a woman's spa area, reveals himself, well, he probably didn't, quote unquote, reveal himself in a perverted way, but probably just started to do his thing to change and whatnot. But in doing so, was exposed himself to women and children, as she said. We don't know if children really were there, but based off her, I'm gonna go off based off her statement, which is exposed himself to women and children.
Mm-hmm.
So, isn't that a problem then if we can't specify transgender that? Specifically being just about identification or about actual physical.
I have another question. I have another way to word your question.
Okay, go.
Isn't it problematic that if a guy revealed himself in front of women and children, all he'd have to say before the police got there was identify as a woman? That's it.
Oh,
That's the whole defense.
I'm right there with you.
That's all I gotta say.
Well, that's
go
kind
for
of
it,
the
Doc.
issue. I don't know if you guys ever saw that video of like the Seattle police like arresting somebody. They were arresting a woman, and the cops were like, "You can't put your hands on her. You're a man." And the cop was like, "I identify as a woman," and he just like kept arresting her. And then he like walked in, and you could hear all the other cops cracking up like the entire time.
You've been waiting to say
Find
it.
that clip.
But
We gotta react to
it's
that.
just-
Waiting to say it.
It's just like that's the politics of it, or like the rule, because it can be bent both ways, man. Like you can do
That's
the
a
whole like
problem.
lawful evil with it, or you can do the lawful good or the chaotic good with it. And I think that's why, like, to some people, it's like, yeah, like, you mentally have to identify this way, but you have other people that are also going to use it against you. And it's also going to cause issues with people that are very set into the standard way of thinking of everything, because it's how everybody thinks since you're going against the majority of it. And so you're going to hit a lot of walls and burdens. And yeah, we are kind of breaking it down, but there's certain points where it's just like, well, some of those rules were in place for a reason. And that's where we're starting to push.
The logic
Honestly,
doesn't
like,
last in there.
Yeah, honestly, I think for this, the only thing that can be said is like, transgenders are a third thing on its own, and that's kind of like the way I've always seen it. Like, I respect them, and I don't try to belittle them and stuff like that for their life decisions. It's just, it's very difficult to interact with it as if it was the way it used to be. You know what I mean? Especially when you have certain sects of that facet just considering themselves as non-binary and completely jumping out of the entire binary system, whereas other people are just trying to replace themselves within it. And it's just like, dude, that's too wild. Like, there's too much going on there. At that point, y'all are like a third gender, and you guys have to kind of live like that. And I think for certain places that are extremely liberal like this, it doesn't seem so far-fetched for them to just open a third section of like these spas or whatever that's going to be the transgender section.
I told y'all about the trans working at my career, my job. That it was a transgender woman. I think that's what it's called when it's a man or a woman.
That depends on the woman. Yeah.
That had a boyfriend. He's technically by their laws straight, and that type of is, you know what it is? There's information missing. And that's what the problem is. A lot. That's really what the problem is. There's information missing.
Is it missing or being hidden?
There we go. Because it's just like, that doesn't tell the whole story. And that, if you just explain it that way, I know it's still not digestible, but the real problem I have with that is it doesn't explain the whole story. Point blank. That's not really what's going on, though. You get me?
No, I completely get you.
Look, so if they can just say this is this and then we have to accept it, then perception now is reality.
So this might be controversial for me to say. I looked it up real quick because I was curious. So what percentage of our population is transgender? And it says right here about 0.7% of adults 18 to 24 identify as transgender, and 0.05 adults 65 and older identify as transgender.
Can you answer why the decline?
Because there's studies that prove that even though you do this, that's why I asked the question earlier about the whole, like, if you have to go through transition surgery or not, if you can identify. So I don't know if this still applies to what I'm about to say, but apparently some people who do go through the transition surgery still don't feel fully.
Yeah, 100%.
I think the word is satisfied, I guess, with the transition. So I think that's probably why, because I guess you could argue like
they went back.
I don't know if they went back, but they found fulfillment somewhere else.
Okay.
If that's the issue, is fulfillment. Okay. I don't know. I'm pleading ignorance here. But go back to what my point was with about the percentage of transgender in the America. Is this America or the world? America. Okay. I don't understand why we have to accommodate. What's the word? I'm trying to be careful with my words here. General navigations to accommodate a extremely small percentage of the population. Like, we have separate, specifically speaking in this incident, the spa, you have a male section and a female section. So knowing that you're going to accommodate a transgender, you are likely to, as she used the word, offend 99.5% of your customer base. So why would you even do that? That, to me, doesn't make sense.
I know the why. The why is because the 0.7 is backed by those other letters. So that actual percentage isn't fair. You know what I'm saying? Because
so it's not necessarily
T is supported by the B and
okay,
the Q. You know what I'm saying?
So the community is bigger than just
the T. And besides that,
but a
they
gay
also
person and a lesbian person won't have the issue because they still, like, a gay person will
support them. And so the other thing is, what was I going to say? The other thing is the trans community or whatever, they feel oppressed. And so when you couple that with
And I want
the monetization of.
I just want to make it clear. I'm not trying to advocate that because they represent a lower percentage of the population.
They're not
they don't
important.
they're not
Yeah,
important. They don't
you're not
deserve
saying
certain
that.
things. Blah blah. That's not what I'm trying to say.
So they push the oppressed card button. You know what I'm saying? And so during a time where oppression or being the victim can be monetized, they, even though their percentage may not represent a physical representation as big as other
significant
demographics,
representation?
yeah,
Okay.
but digitally, market space wise, media space wise, their representation is much bigger off of that wave. And
I still think that's.
I always bring it back to, and I'm not the guy to just try and bring race into it anytime, but this did start with a black guy dying. Like this current wave of wokeness started with a black guy dying in some Black Lives Matter movement, and that's no longer the thing anymore. Now we've transitioned to the LGBT.
So to go to your point about the whole the alphabet community, they all support each other. So I just looked up real quick within that community who all identifies, and only 5.6% identify as LGBT identification.
Yeah, but what about the Q? And then now you're not talking about
you're getting issue because they're not putting in the Q and the I and the A and the plus and the 2.
Non-binary. What if you're just not on that spectrum? Why you can't chase down the number.
No, I'm not. It's not that I can't chase down the number. I disagree. You can't chase down the number.
You won't find out.
I just think when you keep things super vague, it's hard to build proper parameters around things to properly navigate. That's my issue. Is like
we're allowing semantics and technicalities to rule. To be honest with you, that's what it is.
Isn't that a problem?
Because the scenario that keeps popping in my head is, I'll just go with the Korean guy, and let's say he's around.
It's an extreme example, and it's perfect.
No, I don't want to talk about gender. I want to talk about him. It's easier
but
that
it
way.
applies though.
100%,
Exactly. So
100%.
go for it. Yep.
If he's surrounded by a whole bunch of Koreans and they're like, "Hey, bro, are you Korean?" What should he answer?
Yes.
Based off of the social rules that we've seen with transgender.
Based off the socials, then
the
no.
trans rules and all that stuff,
Then
right?
no.
I mean based off the current climate of the world where it says yes. He should say yes,
Then
correct?
Yes.
But what if they find out that
He was born in.
he went to the surgeries and did all of that thing? How do you think their reception of him should be?
I would assume insulted,
Angry.
demeaned.
They'd be angry, right?
Exactly. All
Okay.
those emotions. Negative.
Now, would he be surprised they were angry?
Yes. I think he would be.
Now, he would say what? I had the surgeries. Now, when he's leaving, I've been in a situation, not that type of situation, but I've been in a situation where you're surrounded or, you know what I'm saying, you're only one. Now, in that situation.
Back in the corner.
Yeah, in that situation, I know what a distressed mind goes through. He would have thought right and wrong. The second they brought it up the second time, after he lied or whatever, he would have known what everything was about. And he would have known why they were upset. Do you think they would have to tell him why they were upset? No. So that means somewhere in this Korean man that he identifies as, he knows when he told them, yes, I'm Korean, that something was missing.
Being hidden, as I said earlier also.
And
The reason
that's
why I
the
say
only
hidden,
problem
because
with it.
this is my problem. The reason why I say hidden and you say missing, because I admit
I'm
I'm
just being
exposing
nicer to you,
myself.
but yeah.
I'm exposing myself here. I'm applying a level of maliciousness to it because I honestly I do like you said
It's like you're sneaking to
know
kick it.
you're lying. So it's not that it's missing. You're hiding it. You're taking that extra step because you know it's. I don't want to say wrong, but it's not the full truth.
Exactly. It's not the full truth, and that's not and it's not to take away, like he said, trans could be I believe they should have their own restroom. It should just be a trans restroom.
I'm okay with that.
You know what I'm saying? But the argument against that would be that means you're not accepting our identification as.
I'm giving you the ability to have your privacy.
That's what should be the most important. Your own facility.
Because if this way spot had a specific area for transgenders or the alphabet community or whatever, this wouldn't have been an issue.
And then the poor spot's in a tough place too, because if that man says,
It is
"Well,
a
they
very
didn't let
tough
me,
spot.
they didn't
Yeah,
let me, they didn't let me
exactly.
go into the women's place," then like,
Yeah, I'm not mad at the spot. Like honestly, the spot, it's they were screwed either way.
100%.
If they denied the transgender, this would have been a completely different video. And now that they accepted transgender, now we're getting this video. I don't know, man.
Normally when crimes happen or loopholes happen, the government or the bank, let's say it's a scam or something going on, there's a gray area period where people are able to benefit off of it or make money off the loophole, right? But eventually it gets closed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Eventually
This whole time period we are in right now is that gray area. This whole time period we're in right now is people getting away with stuff until we say, okay, no, that's where we need to tighten up. That's where we need to adjust.
We gotta have
that's
lines.
where we got it. So right now we're going to see the extremes. We are going to see things that we might never see again, to be honest with you, because this is so new. It's so freeing. There is no, as soon as we were like, okay, let's just rock with this way, there was no limiter. There was no there was no guidelines for anything. You get what I'm saying? For example, if we were talking about, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but it's just how the world works. It's like, okay, if prisoners keep escaping from a prison, eventually the prison's going to find out there's a hole somewhere and patch the hole up. So this is that. What we're seeing is that the SPA being forced to be in that tough position, businesses will be like, that can't happen. I need to be able to either make a stance or not make a stance and have
they
a
lost money. People wanted their money back. They lost
and
money.
either way, they would have lost money because that guy, the white guy, would have been just as angry for the trans person and said, give me my money back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like how y'all treating this person.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Businesses will have to account for, okay, we're not going to be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just going to be doing this.
I think they're already doing that too, because you can see now after the whole Trump election, Coca-Cola is not making public statements anymore, and all those people because they're just they got in so much trouble from trying to bring the racial the counselor onto that meeting so they can teach the racial biases and how to spot racism within the company, and they ended up just shaming white people the entire time. So I definitely think companies are starting to kind of get out of the game, and they maybe stick their toes in to be supportive every now and then, just to kind of
Pride Month.
Yeah, just to be like, hey, we're still here and we're still about this, but we're not fully invested.
You know how I keep saying Pride likes to piggyback off of black actual issues? Juneteenth and Pride Month.
Same month.
Which one was it? Oh, never mind. I'll shut up. Let's continue.
I actually thought of that. Well, the other thought I had,
one engulfs the other. A day.
The other thought I had though for this situation is that I also think our culture is kind of running awry almost in this situation, because the whole idea of being from the United States of America, being an American in this situation, is that we worship the individual pioneer. We're all about the little guy that goes the distance. And so in a lot of ways, the transgender community represents that. And I think that's why it's being championed, because it fulfills all of our ideals.
Boy, if you're talking about, okay,
on the surface, yeah. But once you dive down into
you can't admit that it's a small percentage of people that are pushing boundaries in science and all of these other rules and stuff like that, but we don't know if it's actually good for the
I'm agreeing with John here. I don't know if it's pushing or stretching
boundaries.
Yeah.
Them boys on there doing Tybo. But man, I don't know.
They gotta bend themselves into pretzels to get some of their points across. In my opinion.
I don't know. I just don't feel. I feel there's a safe way for all. I feel there's a safe way for all of us to interact, and I just, like I said, it's new, so I don't get too mad here and there. You know what I'm saying? Even the people that are defending the principles themselves, these are not new principles, but they're new ideas that they're finally being able. This is their first time testing them against reality. You know what I'm saying? This is the first time going out and speaking and proclaiming these things that's not in a safe space, but technically is. You know what I'm saying? So where they can get some feedback or bite back to
Yeah,
where
yeah,
the
I
reality
hear you.
has to
I'm with you.
adjust.
Yeah.
So this is to me what we're watching, because eventually some of these people will, that didn't make sense. It didn't make sense for that little girl to see me. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't my intention, and it probably wasn't the person's intention. So they have to accommodate that person. If it's not my intention to do this thing, but I also understand that I shouldn't be in a position where I'm exposing myself to children and women.
So
makes the most sense?
let me offer you a question here then. So if that transgender went into the women's locker room and announced to all the women in the room, I am a transgender woman, I would like to change. Is it okay if I change right here? Or would you like me to, I don't know, like wait till everyone leaves or go somewhere else, blah, blah, blah. Like that's my question. And instead of just being so
just comfortable.
Comfortable, exactly.
And then do we want them to be uncomfortable? You get what I'm saying? The way we say things too. Like, I know that's not what we're saying, but there has to be some. Remember, I keep saying nobody's fucking considerate. If you're just considerate,
but that's what I'm trying to get to though. But go.
If you're just so much of this shit, man. First off, another thing, we all greet each other with our insecurities.
You said that. Yep.
We always do. We're all traumatized too. The world is not easy. Life is not easy. We're all just traumatized and passing on our traumas and building our characters around things that don't make us feel like we're bad people. We all just want to feel good, like we're good people. So, like,
instead of accepting, we actually might be bad people.
So just be considerate. Start with that. Just start being considerate. Everybody. Just, if that person was considerate, if the women were considerate, they would say, okay, how about this? We'll go to this side. We'll leave this little locker space for you. You come change over here. We'll do our thing when you're done changing. If you're interacting with the group, interact with the group, whatever it is. But when you're considerate or you lead with consideration, then the only way to live is to share.
You get that back usually.
Yeah.
What you give, you get back. If you
other
leave
than that, you're
you might
taking.
Get I'm with you. Yep.
The only way to live is to share. Other than that, you're taking. And if you're taking away from. So just be considerate and share. That's my only point on this. I don't want to sound crazy at all.
Yeah, I want to move on from this. I feel like we're going to piss off a lot of people.
It's really hard though, because like we're taught to be egotistical, because Americans in general are pretty entitled, and so you're taught, don't suppress yourself, don't hide who you are. And so the consideration to some people isn't immediately the first thought that comes into your mind. And that's something that like you are right. Like we actually do have to take a moment to be considerate. And I think that might be the culture conflict that's happening with the situation, where it's just like there are people that are like, they're starting to be considerate and they're thinking about maybe leaning more conservative, but they're afraid of getting shamed for being conservative in the situation. We're wanting to reinforce the rules that they've already lived by, because it's like, it's almost reflected like, oh, well then you stand against the entire civil rights movement. And it's like, what? Like, I just don't agree with this. And it's just like, no, you clearly are against all of that happened, all the good that happened in the past. And it's just like, no, I just don't know if I feel comfortable with this. And they're like, nah, you're a terrible person. I'm self-righteous, so let me tell you why you're a terrible person and why you're morally inept. And you're just like, what the fuck? Like,
and sometimes it can be, even if somebody is the victim or the oppressed in the situation, they should still be considerate to the oppressor. Because, like, for example, when the person, I don't want to say oppressed, or, for example, in the situation where you're saying the person just wants, you're either against the civil rights movement or for the civil rights movement. If the person saying that you're either against it or for was considerate of the person they were speaking to, they would try to understand that maybe it's somewhere in between.
It's not black,
you know what I'm saying? Maybe it's not black and white. And that's literally the most simple thing to me. And it's funny because even when there is an oppressed demographic, it can be black people, it can be LGBT, it can be whatever it is that feels oppressed, Spanish people, whatever. When they come up on their way up, the loudest people have no consideration. Like, even on the come up, for it to the transition to happen, there's no consideration because we weren't shown consideration. So therefore, I should not show consideration. It's just wild.
Evil begets evil. I'm not trying to say they're evil, but it's just the saying that it's the endless freaking cycle.
100%.
When are we gonna say that because I want to stop this cycle, I'm gonna be the bigger person and just navigate this way, which is, as we've discussed, consideration. Yeah. Let's move on. Let's get into some Olympic drama. So let's start off with this one. Sha'Carri Richardson, U.S. sprinter, out of a 100-meter event at Tokyo Olympics after failing drug test. Let's read a couple paragraphs. Let's talk about it. American sprinter Sha'Carri Richardson will not be able to participate in the 100-meter event at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. The 21-year-old standout, who was expected to contend for a gold medal, tested positive for marijuana at the U.S. Olympic trials in June. On Friday, Richardson accepted a 1-month ban retroactive to June 28th for failing the test. Quote, I want to take responsibility for my actions. I know what I did. I know what I'm supposed to do, and I'm allowed not to do, and still made that decision. I'm not making an excuse. I'm not looking for any empathy in my case. According to the United States Anti-Doping Agency rules on the matter, an athlete who tests positive for marijuana or anything else they consider a substance of abuse will receive a 3-month sanction as long as it was unrelated to sports performance. Furthermore, the USADA states that if the athlete undergoes a treatment program, which Richardson did, that sanction can be cut down to 1 month. Richardson admitted to NBC on Friday that she used marijuana in Oregon, a state in which the substance is legal, after the death of her biological mother. You're right, it was her mother. That happened just hours before the Olympic trials kicked off. Quote, that set me in a state of mind, in a state of emotional panic, if anything. During all that, I still, even though I'm here, I still have to go out and put on a performance for my dream. And I feel like there's, like, I think I've heard enough.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I would like to state too that her ban actually ended today, but she still is not allowed to run.
Yeah, I think it actually gets into that.
What?
Or somewhere I read. Yeah, she's still not allowed to compete, which is, again, ridiculous.
And let me tell you something. The girl fast.
Hey, you were telling me she's breaking records.
This girl's been breaking
records. They said she's going to
records.
compete. She's probably going to be able to
compete for
a gold medal.
Like, that's not a joke.
As America, don't we want that?
Nah.
So why are we trying to prevent her from getting us a gold medal? Like, what are we doing?
Who's stopping the Olympic Committee?
Doc?
He's asking a question. Who's stopping her from competing?
Yeah. Who's stopping her? The Olympic Committee or the U.S. track and field?
The USA's track and field, I guess. The
Quote,
U.S.
Richardson's in a situation incredibly unfortunate and devastating for everyone involved. Athlete health and well-being continue to be one of USATF's most critical priorities, and we will work with Sha'Carri to ensure she has ample resources to overcome any mental health challenges now and in the future. Wow.
So now she has to have mental health because she smoked. That's what I'm saying. All this shit be fake. All this shit be fake. All of this shit is fake. They not gonna do nothing about this marijuana shit, bro. This shit gonna be like this still. I bet you.
Yeah, I'm really confused. I honestly thought the Olympic Committee was the one that was telling her she couldn't run. But if it's like the USA track and field, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm not specifically sure who's saying she still can't perform, but I did read somewhere. I don't know if it was here in another article.
It's an American thing because she hasn't been to the Olympics. She hasn't been tested for the Olympics and all that stuff yet, like by the Olympic Committee. I would assume.
I think that's what it said. Let me confirm here.
Because don't you have to pick the team and then they get tested?
I mean, if she's already gone through like the process of what normally happens with this, I think she should be able to run again.
Okay, yeah, it was the U.S. Olympic trial, so it wasn't the official.
It was the trials. And then she won, smoking the shit. They should let her run. I said when she's crossing the line and they taking that picture, she should put like a imaginary joint to her mouth. Like, I just smoked y'all. This is stupid.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know what's the problem. Like, who's stopping this? What part of the government is?
I think if she passed the next test, like she should be Gucci.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. If the rule says if enforcing marijuana is part of that rule, then I understand. Follow the rules. Like, she's banned, and then she did the proper to reduce that ban, which was do what was it? An extra test. Yeah, and she's doing everything she needs to do. So if by that time the expiration of that, what's it called, she's able to perform, let her perform. Why can't she? What's up with this extra, like?
Yeah, who's the guy saying like, no, we gotta teach her a lesson? Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't get it.
Let's see if I can find anything. See if there's any details that I might be missing.
I'll tell you what. I get my ass whooped by a flight of stairs. Talking about compete at the Olympics.
I'm slightly, I don't know if this is the right way to describe the emotion, upset that she's not fighting harder. Like, girl.
Oh, also, can we pull
You
up?
should be in the Olympics. You should be getting a gold medal.
Can I pull something up?
What-
Can I
what's
ask you
it?
about something? Michael Phelps,
What about Michael Phelps?
when he got caught with marijuana,
Yeah, he
what did
smoked.
he have to do?
That's a good question. What happened to Michael Phelps when he smoked?
I think they gave him like a weird little charge, and then he went back out there and he swam. Oh, that's right. He got caught afterwards. He was like in a
that's
European
right, it
country.
was
And then-
after.
and then
He was like in
got the next
Amsterdam
one.
smoking,
Yeah,
and then he came
that's
back
right.
and they were like, "How could you do that?" And he was just like, "It's freaking legal over there."
Yeah, because Robert and I typed it in. They're already trying to do comparison to Michael Phelps, but the difference is Michael Phelps. That's right.
That's
It
what I
was
wanted to ask.
after, not before. That's the difference. Okay.
Did they offer him mental health? Because he came back and competed after that. though. He came back to the next Olympics after that and competed.
He's been in every single Olympics.
Yeah.
For the
I
past
honestly think she
how many
took up
Olympics?
the mental health thing just because everyone else around her was freaking out, and there was probably like a manager who was like, "You gotta do it, otherwise
Here
they
you go.
probably won't let you."
Why was
compete."
Sha'Carri Richardson left off the relay list? For the women's 4x100 relay race, U.S. track and field has 2 discretionary spots. Richardson, who was considered a contender for the gold medal in the women's 100-meter sprint, could have been named to one of those spots, ESPN said. However, Richardson was left off the roster because of her positive drug test. But the thing, it expires, though. It already did, didn't it?
It expired.
Richardson tested positive for a chemical found in marijuana following the Olympic trials on June 19th. She admitted to smoking marijuana while coping with the unexpected loss of her biological mother days prior to the trials. Despite being legal in Oregon, the state hosting the Olympic trial, marijuana is still. So it's just because she did it. Like, even though she's taken every precautionary measure she has to suffer the consequences, just because she did it, she's still suffering. Like,
Not like she's in bad shape, huh? Not like she pulled up fat. Can't compete.
or miss the practice or anything like that.
Nope.
It's just because man. I'm trying not to draw a comparison here.
I want her mom to hunt all of these folks.
Isn't that that's a good point? Isn't that disrespectful to the mother? Wouldn't you think the deceased mother would want her daughter to compete in the Olympics for a gold medal?
Now you're
Depriving.
because of the deceased mother. Bad juju. Bad.
What are we doing, man?
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know who's just like rules are rules. Who the hell's fucking saying that shit in that committee? Like,
Smoked marijuana.
But what rule is it? She smoked marijuana. She had to be banned for 3 months. Then she reduced that banning by doing whatever additional things she had to do. So now, at the end of that banning, she should be eligible to compete, but they're still not letting her compete. Why? There's something I'm missing here. I'm missing
Nobody
something.
knows.
I don't know.
Boy, ain't no telling. These folks want to run fast. You found somebody who ran fast. Now you don't want her to run fast.
All right,
Man, y'all tripping.
let's
This
move to
is
the second part.
This is a weird dichotomy to like the whole rules idea. Now that I've been thinking about it, from the previous freaking article that we were covering, where
That's why I wanted to make a comparison, but I was trying to
we were
hold
trying to
back.
be like those rules are there for a place, for a reason, and then now we're looking at this one and I'm like, I don't know about those rules. Like, it's a weird contrast, man.
No, because I'm saying, honestly speaking, according to where the we are with the gender debate and all that stuff, we should be as progressive with marijuana, but we're not.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Marijuana's actually lacking behind that in the conversation. So technically speaking, we would be consistent here, because if that's a rule, then this shouldn't be a rule as well. Like, if there's a change in the rule of you can just identify as something and use whatever.
And what percentage of Americans actually want legal? Like, I'm sure it's high.
Bro, the last 30% that don't want that shit finna die in the next, 20 years.
There's already businesses coming from it, too. 2/3 of Americans support marijuana legalization. I'm pretty sure it's higher than that.
59%.
And this poll says 91%. Like, it just depends on the polling and I guess the area, too. There's a lot of nuances that go in the polling, but more than half. I can say that at least.
100%, I can say that.
Let's move to the second half of the discussion, which is this issue that happened. Gwen Berry, the Olympic hammer thrower who snubbed the U.S. flag. So, the American track and field star who snubbed the national anthem during U.S. Olympic trials over the weekend is an outspoken activist for racial justice and committed to making her mission bigger. I just want to see what specifically happened. I don't care about blah, 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 blah. Gwen Berry, 31, took one of her most high-profile stances yet on Saturday when she turned away from the American flag during the Star-Spangled Banner on the podium. Quote, "The anthem doesn't speak for me. It never has," said Berry, who received the bronze medal in the hammer throw. Her reaction to the anthem garnered its fair share of attention, though she learned before the power she has to highlight injustice. Let me reread that. I'm sorry. Though she's learned before the power she has to highlight injustice in the sports world, famously raising her fist during the medal ceremony at the Pan American Games in 2019. Quote, "My purpose and my mission is bigger than sports." Then why are you competing in the Olympics? I'm sorry. So, my issue with this is completely different with the other one. If you don't want to, let me rephrase it, because she actually come out and said that it's not that she hates this country, but if you don't respect, I would say, the country, the flag, then why are you? I just don't understand why you turned her back to the anthem. She said they tried to trick her. They bamboozled her, or they pulled a trick on her. I don't know if it says it in here, because apparently the anthem wasn't supposed to be played, but then they came out and said, no, at specific times the anthem is played. It just happened to coincide with their medal presentation that time frame hit where the anthem was played. My issue is, why is she making this about her? That's my big issue, is why are you making this about you?
It seems like all ego to me.
Yes, I'm right there with you.
She's like championing herself for a cause, but it's just it's weird because like even just like looking at the situation, it's grimy because it's like wait. So you're willing to wear the uniform, accept the funding, and like a lot of this stuff comes from taxpayers. This isn't like a privatized group that gives it. Like, no, this is the federal government's like funding to make you go compete for our nation. And so you're not spitting on a corporation, you're spitting on taxpayers, like regular people.
The people.
My problem.
And it's for like an individual, like it's not even like an individual's cause. Well, I think it is, because I feel like the cause isn't necessarily like the black community, but her ego.
I'll say this. When I first read it, my opinion of it was that in the 60s or whatever, we've all seen the iconic picture of those guys holding their fist up in the 60s and competing for, and we know why they held their fist up. We don't have to, but you know what I'm saying? After a certain while, I don't know what it's called. Certain gestures lose their value. And so,
Yes, your quote, "I never said that I hated the country."
So, for example, if every time a black athlete won an Olympic medal, they held their fist up, it wouldn't mean as much. You know what I'm saying? It takes away from the actual message. So my thing is, if this is actually about the message, at this time, that wasn't the actually appropriate way to get words out on the message. I'm nobody to judge anybody on how they choose to get the message. I'm trying to speak to the message, even though I do feel like this was more of a clout thing. It's still just not the right way to get the message out. Like, it's still just, there's just no, like...
I'm with Doc. It's an ego thing. She wanted the attention.
Yeah,
she
like,
got third place, and she
I'm saying
took away from the first, second place and put it on herself. It's an ego thing.
If there was if her point was the message, this was not the way. Just obviously put. And so then my mind goes to, I don't believe anybody to be stupid. So if you knew this wasn't the way, then that means there was another reason for you doing this thing.
See, this. What I finally found the quote. This okay. This doesn't make sense to me. Let me see if it makes sense to y'all. If it doesn't make sense, help me understand it then. I never said that I hated the country. Never said that. All I said was I respect my people enough to not stand for or acknowledge something that disrespects them. I love my people, point blank, period.
She's talking about the anthem specifically. And we've already talked about the history of the anthem.
So we should change the anthem then? Is that what she wants?
She's just saying that's her opinion. That's her opinion. The song, okay, I will say this. You can't force a sentiment to change over something that's the same thing. No, I'm being honest.
No,
you just can't. Like if a whip has been used to hit people, you can't stop people from flinching at a whip. just because you no longer use it to hit people, is what I'm saying. So if that's her opinion on the anthem, that's fine. I still do not believe that's the reason any of this was done. But if that's her opinion on the anthem, that logic does stand. On the anthem, not the country.
But then she said if she had an option, my issue is she got third place. Like, shouldn't it be the first place decision? Like, sure, she should have been informed that they were going to do that. Sure, I give that to you.
Oh, first and second were Americans too?
Yeah, this was to see if you got to represent America. So.
Oh, everybody. Oh, it was during the trials.
Yeah, it was during the trials. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do any kind of activism during the actual Olympics.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah, they're only allowed to do it in the trials beforehand.
Yeah, like I said, I still think it was a clout thing. She did it just to, you know what I'm saying, get clouted up. But as far as she's using an excuse, that's a usable excuse is all I'm saying for the anthem, because she can't say anything about anything else. So that has to be her logic.
I don't know what to say. We're already past an hour.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm very much like proud of my nationality, and so to me to see it, it's kind of just like, ugh. It's just the only thing I can say is disrespectful.
100%.
Because
yeah,
at a certain point, like, you have to accept the nationality in order to begin to create bonds. Because when all the race stuff happens, when all the religion stuff happens, when all the gender stuff happens, the only bond that remains is that we're kin by country.
We're all Americans.
And then from there, you can start the point of, building rapport and stuff like that, because that's the final connection. If you can't even make that connection, that's it. Like,
I agree, but that's also missing something. I agree, but that's also missing something. For example, July 4th, that's our independence, correct?
Yeah.
Would you consider that a holiday that every American should 100% celebrate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on July 4th, when we gained our independence, did everybody gain their independence?
Not initially.
You get what I'm saying?
I understand where you're going. Keep
going. So now years have passed, right? And everybody is now independent. Everybody's free. But the initial date for that event had nothing to do with certain people getting their independence. So should that holiday now be saying, well, since I just identify as American now, I should just be happy about that holiday? Or should they recognize that maybe that wasn't their day of independence, even though they're still proud to be Americans, and celebrate when they got their independence?
That's already been catered to because
exactly.
Juneteenth.
Go on, Doc.
That's what Juneteenth is for. It's that day of that group's independence.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why my question still stands. July 4th.
It's the first installment of the nation's history, and Juneteenth also has its own installment, and that's why we celebrate that day.
No, but I'm saying, my question is, would you be asking maybe somebody who does have family that was unaffected to celebrate July 4th with the same passion? You get what I'm saying?
My thing is, clearly, as we obviously are very aware, the Constitution wasn't fully applied until a certain point, slavery and then emancipation, obviously, because we're all have inalienable rights.
Okay.
Clearly, there was a certain people within our American culture that weren't fully able to
they weren't free.
Express their constitutional rights, their inalienable rights.
Correct.
We had to fight. Literally, we had a civil war to be able to get them to that point.
Okay.
So the American spirit, that was fought for July 4th, 1776.
Okay.
It wasn't fully given to everybody. We had to fight for that.
Correct.
So what do? Do we have two different dates? July 4th
my question
and
is, the sentiment to be consistent would mean that everybody should celebrate July 4th, which I still agree to be honest with you. I celebrate July 4th. But then everybody should also celebrate Juneteenth. But
I don't
but a lot of people do.
Yeah. Go on, finish
but
the thought.
not America doesn't celebrate Juneteenth.
Well, because it just recently became an
An
official
holiday.
Yeah.
But okay, so then
Progress, like as a
100%. I
I mean,
accept
in
the
all
progress,
honesty,
but the
like-
question
like-
is still remains: does the person? We don't celebrate both holidays with the same excitement. Is my point. And so, if we're all American, we should technically, by those consistent rules, celebrate both of those holidays as like other people should be happy for.
Sure.
Whenever.
I don't disagree with that. We'll probably get there. It's just like we just said, Juneteenth is officially.
So then, if we're not
classified as a
there
federal
yet,
holiday.
if we're not there yet,
So you're trying to see the sentiment then.
that's all I'm saying. If we're not there yet, we're gonna see stuff like this. I'm not defending stuff like this. I'm saying if we're not there yet, there are some people who are still working out the shit.
So then I guess to be fair to the point you're trying to make is, out of the whole, going back to what I did before with the representation, percentage of reputation, what percentage of this reputation actually is
Boom.
like?
Right
are
there.
we just putting the flashlight on this?
That's what I'm saying. So like, if we're just
Like, is this actually an issue?
no, not to me, but I'm saying under the same anger that you would have.
Because my issue is sentiments like this is keeping us from progress.
100%.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I agree with that. But I'm also explaining why the sentiment exists and why.
Yeah, no,
and
no,
why
it makes sense. It
and
makes
why
sense.
the aggression towards the sentiment is not the way, because the aggression towards that sentiment is also why the sentiment will continue to exist.
I guess my issue is with that sentiment when they feel like, and I don't want to apply a feeling because I generally don't know, but based off the things I've read and how they represented themselves in this particular situation.
Oh, this is for clout. I'm with you.
Well, no, not necessarily clout. I agree it is for clout. So tell me if I'm wrong with feeling this way or if I'm just out of line or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like people have this inner feeling that America's not for them or something like that. Like,
No, they have the feeling that America hasn't represented them.
which is fair.
But
do
so
they not
then,
feel like we're getting to a point where they are? Like, do they not see the strides we're making? Like,
well, so then the sentiment is, I'm on your neck. There's no consideration. I'm right there with you. But the sentiment is,
go back to you're right. Goes back to your point about the
I'm
consideration.
on your
Okay.
neck until it is right. So any point where
Isn't
I can
that
be on your
exhausting? Like, don't you
It
guys
is
see how? Don't
exhausting.
you see how that's actually?
yeah, it's exhausting. But
That's
there was
kind
also
of the
no
thing, though, like,
consideration done
to me,
before
it
that
gets
too.
to a point where it's like people just upset at the fact that we aren't a utopia yet.
100%.
Or the fact that our history isn't utopic, and they're just like, nope, we fucked up. There was too many
impossible.
fuck ups, and it's not right, and so we
gotta burn it all
shouldn't
down.
celebrate
But I
it.
ain't
And it's
gonna lie
just
to
like,
you.
dude, like
my
nobody
I ain't
starts
gonna
off
lie to you.
perfect. Nobody's perfect.
I blame America for that because America presents itself as a utopia.
It kind of does.
And that is not
Yeah.
fair. That's
kinda does.
it's not the case. And that also when you present something like that, now you gotta hide shit. Now you gotta hide shit that makes just talking about government alone. Now we gotta hide shit that we've done that that's not utopian. When we're destabilizing shit or doing whatever the fuck we're doing for our interests, which hey, I'm American first. I don't give a fuck. As long as I'm benefit, I'm good.
Well, I'm gonna push back against that sentiment a little bit. Who actually embodies that sentiment that America is perfect?
Americans.
Americans? In what way?
The
'Cause
naivete of Americans.
It'd be the ego for America.
Yeah.
I agree
but
with that
I think
because we're still
like,
taught in school our bloody history. Like we were taught about
That shit ain't hit us.
because we were young. Like I understand what you're trying to
You
say.
know what I'm saying?
But
That
it's
shit
not
ain't hit us.
It's not hidden. I would guess.
It's not well taught either.
Okay.
You know what I'm
That's-
saying?
Not.
That's
it doesn't
actually
hit
interesting, though.
home
I
to the
think
effectiveness
that's-
it needs to hit home. Then.
Yeah.
I think
but now
that's
it's
the
being
pulse of the
overtaught.
identity crisis, though. I think the identity crisis is you have politicians or figureheads on the news saying this is the greatest country in the world, and then you open a history book and you're like, I don't know, man. And that's where the identity crisis happening. And I think now, though, it's leading to a nihilistic mentality. Like a lot of people are like, oh man, I hate this country. Like it's just all this bullshit. And I don't think people know what to feel or think anymore in certain situations. Like some people can blindly just accept like, oh, we're still great. It's okay. It's on fire, but it's still great. And then other people are just like down in the dumps that we weren't perfect from the get.
And then I'll tell you what. This is what we're witnessing is a bickering family.
Yes.
Because let me tell you the truth.
Completely.
When
agree.
people travel,
Completely agree.
When people travel, I don't care about what I feel about anything. When people travel, you saying something about America, I'm on your ass. You hear me? Like that's how people are. So internally, when you're around these things may show themselves.
So I'm glad you said that, because this would actually make me feel better, because one of my personal I guess defining character thing in myself when it comes to my family and people I associate within that familiar circle is we may bicker, yell at each other, fight, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, no one touches you.
Exactly.
No one touched you. If we all as Americans unanimously have that sentiment,
100%.
then I'm actually more okay with this thing.
100%.
I just don't feel like we all have that sentiment.
100%. It's
I just don't feel that way.
When people are sending a message when people are making those stances, they're sending the stance to America. They're not sending the stance to other countries. When she's doing that, when she's poo-pooing the anthem, she's doing it to Americans, for Americans to see. She don't care about another country.
On the Olympic national, it's a
national
national
it's
stage. That's
dumb.
why I kind of disagree with you a little bit.
It's dumb. It's a national stage. To my point, it's to Americans.
We're not on a national. I'm sorry, a world stage. I meant world stage.
It's the U.S. Olympics trial.
But it's the
U.S. Olympic trial.
But it's the Olympic trial. I guess what I'm harping on is not the USA part. I'm harping on the Olympic part.
But the Olympic part isn't the national coverage yet. It's not world global coverage yet. You know what I'm saying?
It's a step.
This right now
I see what
is
you're trying
not
to
global coverage, Gene. Like,
okay,
you
fair,
get what I'm saying?
fair,
News cycle is not
fair,
global coverage.
fair.
So that's what I'm saying. So when she's sending her message, the message is to Americans. For the clout that she wants, the clout is from Americans.
But the potential stage is world, and
Global.
because the potential stage is global, it, like Doc said, it's disrespectful.
It's
and
very
it sets
disrespectful.
An uneasy feeling. I get it. Like if to simplify it to we're a family, we got our family problems. You're about to go on the world stage. You're not showing me confidence that you can keep your cool when you're going to be like.
I get what you're saying, but in that tunnel, when Ukraine lines up next to you, or Spain lines up next to you, or any other country, and they're like, "Oh, you Americans is crazy."
Hold your tongue. You better watch who you're talking to.
We're finna go pop shit. You get what I'm saying? And because also on a team sport, in most of these sports, your teammates are your same ethnicity.
I don't know.
Not
man.
all of them.
That's the other thing too. Is that like
So
you
she
can
gotta do it
also
for our black teammates.
you can also use that against like people. Like I wouldn't put it far fetched of like a Ukrainian and be like, at least I love my country, and then just like run the track, and that probably break her fucking head, man, get in her head from the competition. Like
That's not how black girls work.
There's a lot of there's a lot of issues to it, and to me, it's just a discipline thing. Like it's just like. I don't know. I feel like when we go out there, like we're showing up as a unit and we're representing, like we're competing. I feel like half the country views this as like a moody teen just kind of throwing a fit in front of public. And everyone's like, "Oh my god, I can't wait to."
I agree to that.
Like it's almost like the parents like just waiting for her to get home so they can beat her and be like, "What the fuck? You embarrass me like that?" Like, so I think that's kind of the situation.
That's why I said I don't think the sentiment is she hates America. Even though I don't agree with what she's doing, I just don't think I don't think she gets on a global stage and say I hate America.
Okay. All right. I think that's a good point to cut it. All right, y'all. I think that's enough fake deep thinking for today. Make sure you go to our Facebook page, Fake Deep Thinking. Join the group. Make sure you join our follow us on Twitter, Podcast FDT. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Fake Deep Thinking. Make sure you like the videos, comment on the video, and share it. It helps us grow. See y'all next time on Fake Deep Thinking. Peace.
Peace.